somebody is going to be significantly enhanced at the quarterback position by the acquisition of Deshaun Watson. Watson is meeting with the Falcons on Wednesday after meeting with the Panthers and the Saints on Monday and the Browns on Tuesday. Everybody in the NFC South wants Deshaun Watson. The Buccaneers were interested in him before Tom Brady unretired, and frankly, one of the reasons Brady came back when he did may have been, if I'm ever going to get back on this Buccaneers train, I better do it now before they go out and make a move like Deshaun Watson. But the Falcons' interest is stunning to me because how in the world do you absorb Deshaun Watson and unload Matt Ryan unless they're going to delay this transaction on both sides until after June 1? And remember, that was the Julio Jones play last year, setting up the trade of him after June 1 to manage the cap hit. It's a crippling $55 million cap charge if you trade Matt Ryan now. That's a fourth of your cap in dead money if you do this deal now. So maybe if it works out that the Falcons are the team that Deshaun Watson wants, that the Texans actually want Matt Ryan, that Matt Ryan wants to go there even though he doesn't have a no-trade clause. If Matt Ryan doesn't want to go to the Texans, it's not very attractive for the Texans to make him involuntarily their franchise quarterback. But I can't see that happening before June 1. But at this point, who knows? It's really not that far off. You missed the offseason program, or at least 90% of it. But if you're the Falcons, you get a 10-year franchise quarterback.
Well, and Mike, I looked at this and my first thought was, this is the Falcons trying to drive up the price for the for the Carolina Panthers or the New Orleans Saints, whichever team ultimately ends up trading for him, if that is to happen. But anyway, driving up the price because I realize he's from Georgia. I realize he's a former Falcons ball boy. I realize that Arthur Blank likes him, the owner of the Falcons. I realize all that. But you look everywhere else, it makes no sense, as you said, because of what Matt Ryan is making, how much of that salary cap he's tying up. And frankly, if you look at their receiving core, what makes you, if you're Deshaun Watson, want to go there? They just lost Russell Gage. We know Calvin Ridley's suspended for the year. There is no receiver on that roster I would want to play with. You've got Kyle Pitts, and that's it. So if I'm Deshaun Watson, I look at this team and I go, what? Why? Other than the chance to go home, and I'm not sure that's enough.
And from Watson's perspective, the more teams that are interested, maybe the better deal he gets walking through the door, although it may be a little bit much for him to presume that he's going to get some giant new contract when he's played one season under the giant contract he got in September of 2020 from the Houston Texans. But you need to be careful if you're Watson because, look, I think the progression goes like this. All the interested teams declare themselves. Watson meets with the ones he's at least marginally interested in. Then Watson makes his final list of teams for which he would waive his no-trade clause. Then the Texans basically have an auction for the contract from among the teams that Watson will play for. But if there's too many teams on that list and the bidding keeps going up and up and up, Watson's eventually got to go play for a team that has given up a crap load of stuff to get him. Yep. If you're Watson, I know there's a certain amount of your ego that gets satisfied by saying, hey, they gave up 5 first-round picks for me. But when you get there, you're like, well, we need to make this team better. How do we make it better? Well, we need some first-round picks. Oh, they gave up 5 to get me. So there's a sweet spot that you want to find there. And I just think that the Falcons seem like such a long shot, and it will put extra pressure on the Saints and Panthers. I think he just needs to pick one of those two teams, Saints or Panthers, and then another team that's not in the NFC South. Have 2 teams that he'll waive his no-trade clause for, and let those 2 teams figure out who's going to give the Texans what they want. The Browns are in it too, as we mentioned. Maybe it's Cleveland. And I assume Cleveland is serious about this, Charean, because you've already pissed off Baker Mayfield, and I don't think that's a good idea if you're the Cleveland Browns. And if you don't get Deshaun Watson, you better have another plan that involves Baker Mayfield not being your quarterback because he comes and has a great year for you in 2022. He may refuse to sign a long-term contract just because you put him through this sense that he had to sit and wonder whether or not he's going to get thrown overboard by the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, and Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer just put something out to that effect, that if they don't end up with Deshaun Watson, Baker may be so mad that he doesn't want to play with them, and maybe you have to do something with Baker and move on. So you better have a plan B there if you don't end up with Deshaun Watson on what you're going to do. Baker Mayfield seems so fragile to me after what happened with the Odell Beckham stuff late last season. And we remember the game, I think it was the Lions game maybe, when he didn't go shake hands at midfield after the game because he was bad. I mean, there's just so many things that it just seems like he's fragile a little bit. And so I would worry if I'm the Browns, if I don't get Deshaun Watson, about what my future is at quarterback. Is Baker Mayfield going to be okay if you bring him back? He's not going to have a choice probably but to play. But, I do worry about that if I'm the Browns ownership, thinking about what's my future if I don't get Deshaun Watson.
I've said before, Charean, that we see and hear enough from Baker Mayfield publicly to come to the reasonable conclusion that behind the scenes, he is a major pain in the ass for the Browns. And the fact that they're considering Deshaun Watson would tend to corroborate that, because if they really like this guy, and if he wasn't a major pain in their ass, then they'd work with him one more year. They'd see what he can do in 2022. They'd let him get healthy. They'd try to nurture him, and they'd try to build around him and hope it all works out. I just think they're exhausted by him. And it's great to be driven and motivated, and that chip on the shoulder can be very valid and very, very helpful to what a guy's trying to achieve. But if it becomes something that causes internal strife and angst and problems, there's a point where the team has to ask themselves, is this guy worth it? Is he so good that we'll tolerate him being a major pain in the ass? Like Aaron Rodgers, major pain in the ass, but he's so good, the Packers tolerate it, and they've twisted themselves in pretzels to give him what he wants, whether it's bring back Tom Clements, who was gone for a reason, bring back Randall Cobb, who was gone for a reason, do other things that they were doing for a reason that now they're doing a different way because Aaron Rodgers is so good. He can command that. I guarantee you, the moment that they see slippage from Aaron Rodgers, they're going to tell him, get the hell out of here. And with Mayfield, he's not good enough for the Browns to put up with that kind of fragile. And I'm not making, look, we all have our own flaws, but we see what we see and we hear what we hear from Baker Mayfield. There's been an immaturity with him that was at times it's kind of fun and it's kind of edgy, and he'll say things that other people won't. But I don't think he knows how to apply the brakes to it quite yet. And at some point, he's got to mature into someone who knows when to give it a rest, especially when dealing with the people who are on his side.
If you're Deshaun Watson, Mike, and you're looking, let's just leave it at these three teams. Let's throw out the Falcons. I think you and I both agree that he's probably not, it's a long shot he's going to Atlanta. So you're talking about three teams basically that are in it right now. If you're Deshaun Watson looking at that, where would you go of those three teams? Because I think I would probably pick Cleveland.
Yes, the Browns are the best team of the bunch, although I'd love to get the hell out of the AFC. If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm waiting for the Eagles.
That's true.
To get to the table, because the Eagles are where I'd want to go. Right now, playoff team, year 2 of Nick Sirianni, stability, the potential to compete at a high level, win the division, maybe get to a Super Bowl. The path is a lot easier in the NFC than the AFC. I'd want to go to Philadelphia. And maybe Philadelphia is just kind of monitoring and taking their time and waiting to swoop in. The other side of this, too, that, and I hate it, nobody's talking about it, but nobody's talking about this. He was questioned today under oath in the civil lawsuits that are pending against him for the first time. If that went poorly, these teams should run in the other direction, and we don't know how it's gone. And I don't know if Tony Busby will find a way to leak any of the testimony or the video. Sometimes these things have a way of making their way to the public eye. But I know if I'm a team that's interested in Deshaun Watson, I've already spoken to Rusty Hardin and or David Mulugheta. Hardin is the lawyer and David is the agent, and I've said to them, before I do anything, I got to see how it went today. I got to see it with my own eyes. I got to watch that video. I got to get an idea of what I'm really stepping into here, what kind of PR problem is going to be hanging over me as these cases go forward. And either we're confident that this guy's going to go to trial and win most, if not all, of these claims, or we're going to know that this is going to be a big mess that's going to hover over us. It hovers over you and it hovers over us, And we may take the Miami Dolphins approach that you got to settle these before we make this trade, and that's exactly why he's not a member of the Dolphins. Stephen Ross, the owner of the team, said you got to settle all 22 cases. If today's depositions went poorly, some of that $35 million that Deshaun Watson's making this year is going to go into the settlement fund and make this case go away, because I don't want that dragging down my franchise if this litigation is going to continue to be problematic for Deshaun Watson, Charean.
Oh, absolutely, Mike. I'm with you there. They've got to see how this went before they fully commit to Deshaun Watson. But I am with you also on the Eagles. That would be my number one choice because, A, it would get me out of the AFC where we know that it's loaded with quarterbacks, and it gets me out of the NFC South with Tom Brady. And that may only be for a year, but nonetheless, it gets me to the NFC East where I know I can win year after year after year. I'm going to have a chance to win in that division. There's no team that really scares me. There's no quarterback that really scares me over the long haul to where I think I can't win, and they've got a great roster. And by the way, they've got 3 first-round draft picks this year. So that's where I would want to go to if I'm Deshaun Watson, and he would have to hope that they get involved in this thing. And maybe, like you said, they're just patiently waiting to see what happens today in the deposition, and then maybe they'll jump into the fray.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.